Welcome back everyone. In today's episode, we're tackling enterprise web scraping, the build versus buy analysis for 20. I've put together a really thorough breakdown for you, covering everything from the basics to some advanced strategies. Let's do this. Enterprise data collection is a strategic capability. The build versus buy decision affects cost, speed to market, data quality, compliance, and organizational agility. This analysis provides a framework for making the right choice for your organization. Let's start with the build option, which means creating your own custom scraping infrastructure. When it comes to year one cost at enterprise scale, there are some real numbers to consider here. The advantages of building in-house include full control over your data pipeline, extraction logic, and scheduling. You also get custom integration with your existing data warehouse and BI tools. There's no vendor lock-in because the data stays on your infrastructure. You benefit from economies at scale since the marginal cost per page decreases as volume grows, and you build a competitive moat through proprietary data capabilities. Now the disadvantages. It takes a long time to get to market, typically 3 to 6 months to build production-ready systems. There's the anti-bot arms race, meaning constant maintenance against evolving protections. Talent dependency is real because specialized engineers are expensive and hard to retain. You'll also need to manage infrastructure including servers, databases, and monitoring on an ongoing basis. And compliance risk falls entirely on you since legal and ethical compliance is your responsibility. Now let's talk about the buy option, which means using managed scraping services. The advantages here are significant. Fast deployment measured in days to weeks, not months. Managed anti-bot systems, where the provider handles capture solving, fingerprinting, and IP rotation. Instant scalability without infrastructure changes. Lower initial investment since you don't need a development team. And compliance support because many providers offer legal guidance. The disadvantages of buying include ongoing per request costs that scale linearly with volume. Vendor dependency since switching providers requires migration effort. Limited customization that may not support unique extraction requirements. Data privacy concerns because your data passes through third-party infrastructure. And quality variance since success rates differ across providers and targets. This brings us to the decision framework. The key factors to weigh include your data volume, how unique your extraction requirements are, your available engineering talent, your timeline, and your long-term strategic needs. The hybrid approach is what I recommend for most enterprises. Most enterprises benefit from a hybrid strategy. First, use managed proxy providers like Bright Data or Oxylabs for proxy infrastructure. Second, build custom scrapers for your specific targets using the managed proxy pool. Third, use scraping APIs for targets with heavy anti-bot protection. Fourth, maintain in-house expertise for data pipeline management. This approach delivers lower infrastructure burden because the proxy provider handles IP management. You get full control over extraction logic through custom scrapers. You have an anti-bot fallback through scraping APIs for difficult targets. And you achieve cost optimization by using the cheapest option for each target. Enterprise compliance is another critical consideration. You need to think about terms of service review, data privacy regulations like GDPR and CCPA, robots.txt compliance, rate limiting to avoid server overload, and documented data handling procedures. Now let's cover some frequently asked questions. When should an enterprise build custom scraping? Build when you have high volume, meaning 5 million plus pages per month, unique data requirements that off-the-shelf solutions cannot meet, in-house engineering talent, and a long-term strategic need for proprietary data capabilities. How long does it take to build an enterprise scraping platform? A production-ready enterprise scraping platform typically takes 3 to 6 months to build with a team of 2 to 3 experienced engineers. MVP versions can be ready in 4 to 8 weeks. What is the minimum budget for enterprise web scraping? Using managed services, enterprise web scraping starts at around $30,000 to $50,000 per year. Building in-house requires a minimum of $200,000 to $400,000 per year, including engineer salaries, infrastructure, and proxy costs. How do enterprises handle scraping compliance? Enterprise scraping compliance requires legal review of target site terms of service, GDPR and CCPA compliance for personal data, robots.txt respect, rate limiting to avoid server overload, and documented data handling procedures. Should we hire a dedicated web scraping team? Hire a dedicated team if web scraping is a core business function generating significant revenue, above $500,000 per year. For supplementary data needs, outsource to managed services or allocate partial engineering resources. For further reading, we have related guides on proxy pricing, web scraping APIs, web scraping legality, and web scraping as a service. That brings us to the end of today's guide on enterprise web scraping. Build versus buy analysis 2026. I packed a lot into this one, so if you need to, feel free to come back and listen to certain sections again. And if you want even more resources, dataresearchtools.com has hundreds of articles on proxies, scraping, automation, and more. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.